What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So one of the most anticipated titles for 2022 is Starfield. This being the next big release from Bethesda has generated a ton of hype, and we've also seen quite a few leaks over the last year or so. Well, it looks like the other day, another leak hit the internet for this game, and we're gonna go over that one here today. Also, we are gonna be talking about this strange PlayStation 5 situation that just keeps on going, this being around Bethesda. I thought we were done with it, but then of course, it pulls us right back in. Oh, and we're also gonna be talking about the big release today, that being Lego Star Wars, as it looks like I might be buying this Lego game day one. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure that like button helps out a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawn Wave channel, make sure you subscribe down below and ring that notification bell so you can keep up to date with all the uploads here on the channel. And we're gonna start today with Firesprite. This is a studio that was acquired by Sony pretty recently. They're the ones who announced that they'd be developing a PlayStation VR 2 title, that being Horizon Call of the Mountain. Well, it looks like they're working on another game alongside of it. We can see this posted up over on their website. This being a job listing, say we are looking for a narrative director to join our development team for a AAA narrative-driven horror adventure game in Unreal 5. Now, last we saw with Firesprite, they have about 260 or so employees. This recorded in 2021. Certainly they've been hiring, I'm sure, after the acquisition and probably even a little before that. But basically they're a studio that, yes, can work on multiple projects at once. So at this point, I'm curious if this is a VR title for Sony's big headset, the PSVR 2 that's upcoming, or if this is just going to be a game they're going to develop straight up for the PlayStation 5 overall. Firesprite seems to be pretty talented with VR titles, and Sony does need software to push what's probably going to be a very expensive accessory to go alongside with the PS5. It might cost more than that PlayStation 5 digital edition. I mean, the VR2 could be $500, even $600. So you want good games? And I will say a narrative-driven horror adventure game with some of the things that the PSVR 2 is being talked about doing, like advanced haptic feedback on your head and 3D audio. I'm sure you can do some very interesting things there in that genre. Also, we had an announcement a bit out of left field. I was not expecting this one for 2022, and that's a new game in the Monkey Island series. We can see this trailer was posted up by Devolver Digital. Return to Monkey Island coming 2022, so this year. Say announcing Return to Monkey Island, the long-awaited follow-up to legendary Secret of Monkey Island and Monkey Island 2. This is in collaboration with Devolver Digital and Lucasfilm Games, and I'll admit, I've never really got into the Monkey Island series at all. I know there are people who are really into it, and I saw a lot of excitement online, which is really, really cool for the people who enjoy this series. I just didn't really get into the point-and-click adventure games, and this is from like the early 90s, so like I feel like if I didn't get into it then, I probably won't now. But either way, if you're really into the series and you're excited for this, that's awesome. The story apparently is very good, so pretty cool either way to see a sequel for it, especially now in 2022. And I'm very curious how it'll be received exactly now compared to back in the early 90s. Oh, and we did have an expected move by Sony leading up to the release of PlayStation Plus Premium and some of the other tiers. We can see this posted up by Eurogamer. Sony quietly removes PlayStation Now annual offer from the PSN store. It's only monthly now. I think it's like $10 a month or something. Don't buy that. Clearly, you wanted to buy the $60 plan, and that might still be available through different web browsers and stuff. I believe Wario64 tweeted that, unfortunately, that offer was not working anymore, and people weren't even able to stack, I guess, the ones that they had bought. Sony caught on to that pretty quick after that started to spread, because some were stacking 4, even 5 years in advance of just PlayStation Plus at $60 per year, or PlayStation Now, $6 per year. That would then turn into the PlayStation Plus Premium. So no surprise here at this point, just hang out and wait for PlayStation Plus Premium to release and then buy in for the $120 if you want to. I think we still need to wait to see the list of games, unless, like I said, you're able to take advantage of basically the 50% discount with the PlayStation Now at $60. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with Starfield. This coming out November 2022, and it feels like we've been on the road for this game to release for a long time now, but we're at least getting closer. And I will say Bethesda's done an interesting job marketing this game. There's kind of this mystique around it, this build up obviously to when they finally show us gameplay for it. That's going to be happening at E3. At least I'd have to assume, unless they want to show it in October and then launch it in November. But that's typically what they've done. Even with something as recent as Fallout 4, they showed gameplay like 5 or 6 months before the game came out. So I would look towards June. Microsoft's probably going to have their own big event, as there's no E3 now, so we'll look towards the summertime. But something that keeps happening, and it's kind of funny because it goes viral online immediately. That is when there are leaks of images for this game. You could see some of these that were posted up all over Reddit and Twitter. There are like 5 images that popped up. And at first it looked like it was just, okay, here's images of Starfield from a current build. No, this is Starfield from like 2018. And there have been these early build images that have been going around for a little while. And we keep getting new ones of like the same build, and it doesn't really show a lot about the game. I mean, it shows like some of like the exterior on a planet that's not really textured, and you'll see some images of different buildings and structures that might just be all purple because they also don't have a texture built out at all. Clearly, this is kind of them just playing around, I assume, in the new engine that they're going to be building with like the successor to the Creation engine, which that'll be a whole thing on its own, I'm sure, as we've seen some wild stuff happen in Skyrim. People get a hold of it and start modifying it. It's an engine that will react very differently depending on even things like frame rate. I just think it's fascinating, specifically with Starfield right now, that the mystery around the game itself is so compelling online that people are like zooming into these build images from 2018 just to get some sort of idea as to what this game is. Because right now we have like that one trailer that showed us the release date, and it was in engine, and it showed us a really good looking sandwich. So they can at least put that together in the new Creation engine. But that's just kind of where we are with Starfield. The hype is through the roof. It keeps building and building and building. Even something like a sit-down talk between several developers going over a few details and a 3-second shot of a robot is enough to go viral online. So I'm hoping when they eventually show this thing over the summer and then we build towards that release date, it lives up to the expectations and the hype, because right now they are sky high. Next up, let's talk about the strange PlayStation 5 situation surrounding Abandon. As I said, I thought we were done with this thing. Seemed like they were going to be kind of fading into the background, hoping people forgot about Blue Box and this weird application they put out that showed a person walking across a couple of floorboards for like 5 or 6 seconds, and all of the back and forth when it came to Silent Hill, Metal Gear, and Kojima. And then I start seeing interviews popping up everywhere. Take a look at this, for example. This was on IGN. This, for the Blue Box Game Studios developer interview, was over 30 minutes, saying IGN spoke with Hassan Karaman of Blue Box Game Studios to share details about the development of the PS5 exclusive Abandoned. Now, I'll link to this interview down below in the sources. I also saw Last Stand Media did one as well as a sit down with Hassan Karaman that just went live yesterday. That was over an hour. So I'm trying to catch up with these different interviews because I couldn't believe it when these started popping up online. I thought this was over. I thought we were just gonna kind of forget about Abandon, but here they are back in the spotlight talking about this game. And there are a few key points here. The one that I noticed is Hassan trying to explain about the whole viral thing when it came to Kojima, them playing into it quite obviously. I think to most of us, the thing, starts with S, ends with L. They were trying to say it meant survival when like everyone looked at it and said, oh, Silent Hill, or the image that clearly was a call to Metal Gear with like the person, the eye patch that was blurred out in the background and the Metal Gear text. And it was just apparently a set of weird circumstances and situations, very coincidental. And I just think they were trying to play into it to continue keeping the interest on a game that just doesn't exist yet. In fact, apparently the plans, at least this was spoke about in this interview, is they're gonna do a paid prologue? That seems weird, doesn't it? Paid prologue. Obviously it sounds like, oh, let's create a part of the game so we can continue to fund the rest of the game. We've had paid prologues technically before. Gran Turismo had one as an example. We had Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes, but those were established franchises. This is just Abandoned. So who knows what ends up happening with this game. It just seems like currently Blue Box, Hassan, are just trying their best to keep themselves in mind of gamers as they move along towards apparently a paid prologue. Who knows when that thing's coming out, because there have been a lot of promises made on their end and then a lot of cryptic tweets and a lot of tweets getting deleted. So it's hard to follow, but we'll see with this prologue. It's just wild to me that this is still ongoing after everything that's happened. I guess eventually Abandon will release in some form. It just might not be the full game, but at least a Paid prologues, there you go. Next up, let's talk about a big video game sale that is currently ongoing, and a lot of times we'll talk about these sales, and it's all digital sales, so it's through like the eShop or the PlayStation Network or the Xbox Store. Well, this time, we're talking about a sale for physical copies of games, and that's typically how I will be buying my games physically, so whenever I see these sales, I'll tend to load up on some of the better ones, especially if you can zero one of these games out that are a bit newer, and that's for the buy two, get one free sale that is ongoing right now with Amazon. So you pay for 2 games, you get 1 free, and the list of games is pretty good. I'll leave a link down below in the sources. Just click video games on the left bar so it just sorts and gets rid of like the DVDs and the books and all of that. But I made a quick list here of some of the titles that are certainly worth checking out. Starting with Elden Ring. I mean, Elden Ring right away is probably the one to pick up if you have not already and you've been curious about it, because then you can also package it with other games like Shin Megami Tensei 5 or Ghostwire Tokyo, Rune Factory 5, Tiny Tina's Wonderland. I mean, that game just came out. Dying Light 2, Uncharted Legacy of Thieves Collection, Tales of Arise, or Bravely Default 2. Some of these games don't typically see sales at all. Like Bravely Default 2 does occasionally go on sale, but it's certainly one that will tend to stay closer to its full price. But like you throw in some newer titles into a cart like Tiny Tina, Ghostwire, and Elden Ring, and one of them will just end up being free. And obviously these are all brand new sealed copies of games, so whenever you see these kind of sales pop up, it's a good time to take advantage of them because like you end up getting 3 games, say for $120 or $40 each. Like I said, I'll leave a link down below in the sources. Make sure you check them out and see if there's anything you wanted to pick up and save. In our last bit of news, let's talk about LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga. Now, this is a game that was delayed multiple times. There was talk about like crunch behind the scenes with the studio at TT Games and all of this, but the game is finally out today, and I was very curious about this one because there was a lot of talks that this was going to be the most ambitious LEGO game ever made. Now, if you're not familiar with the LEGO games, they're kind of like mindless fun. Like you can turn your brain off, play through them. There's a lot of collecting going on. There's large checklists of different things to do, different characters to unlock and all this. And for the most part, if you have like kids, younger gamers, nephews, you can typically sit down and have a good time with them through co-op, especially if it's an IP that you both enjoy, like a Marvel game or something like that. Well, LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga was talked about as being one of the most ambitious LEGO games we've ever seen. We can see this with the Metacritic score. Now, there are a couple of different versions of the game, obviously, Xbox, PlayStation, Switch. I believe the PS5 version has the most in terms of reviews, so that's what I'm showing here, sitting at an 84. Now, if we look at the review split, 31 positive, 1 mixed. In fact, it actually got a perfect score from VGC. Others like IGN gave it an 8, but as I was looking up and down the list here, everyone seemed to enjoy it as a LEGO game because it's still a LEGO game, which means that, yeah, it's going to tend to be on like the easier side and all of that, and certainly set up for a more general audience, which would include younger gamers. But everyone who was reviewing this game said that this is the largest and I don't say surprising but a game that caught them off guard a bit when it comes to the scope of it overall in like the LEGO series. Many of the reviews mention these large open worlds. They're still sectioned off because you have to go through the story itself, so you can't necessarily walk from like episode 1 to episode 9, for example, in one large world, but as they are sectioned off the different episodes, you do have these large worlds to explore. The combat is a bit more interesting with light, heavy attacks, blasters versus lightsabers, full skill trees to fill out, and yeah, a ton of stuff to unlock. Now, they also talked about the visuals on the Switch. It looks like it's 720p 30 FPS, whereas on like the PlayStation 5, for example, higher resolution of 4K 60 FPS. So you're gonna have to kind of decide which way you want to go with it, because obviously with the Switch might be a bit more accessible for pick up and play, especially with a game like this that just has a lot to do in it. But when it comes to the co-op, it seems like it struggles a bit on the Switch. Also, it does cut the screen in half vertically, so it sounds like your field of view or just your vision overall is limited pretty drastically, and some of these bosses are kind of large and it can mess you up. Now, I am a fan of Star Wars, so I had this on my radar, but with LEGO games, typically, I feel like I know the formula of them, so I don't necessarily rush out and grab any of these LEGO games day one. Sometimes I'll kind of wait to see if they go on sale or something, and then I might pick it up just to play around with here and there. However, this one does have my interest because it sounds like it is such a different LEGO game when it comes to the overall scope of it. So I think I'm going to pick it up today and check it out, see what it's all about, and I'm sure we'll talk about it a bit more on the podcast this weekend. And before we go to the comment of the day, we're going to take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I asked, if it actually gets revealed this year, are you buying a Zelda Twilight Princess and Wind Waker collection on the Switch? 69% said yes, there you go, and then 31% said no. So I do believe that is most likely going to be Nintendo's strategy here. We heard about this collection of Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, like a little over a year ago or so. It didn't pan out for the anniversary for Zelda. Now we see Breath of the Wild 2 coming out, we'll say first half of 2023. Seems like if they want to continue to do like these annual Zelda releases as much as they can, that'd be a great collection to just kind of drop in there. And let's face it, it'll sell millions. There are a lot of people, I'm sure, that have not played Wind Waker or Twilight Princess. I mean, even though they were moved to the Wii U, no one owned a Wii U. Like, not really anyway. So the Wii, that was seemingly a while ago now, and there are a lot of newer gamers coming into the Switch generation. So yeah, it'd probably be new to them, and it'll probably do pretty well for Nintendo, and even many of us who have played and bought Wind Waker in the past or Twilight Princess, we'll probably buy it again. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day as you're seeing here. This is from Albert saying, would be cool to have native support for PS3 on PS5, but I would prefer to be able to buy the games I want instead of it having tied to the subscription. We'll see how it goes with that. That is something that's been brought up a couple of times, but I think the focus is mostly on PS3 games are streamed. That's annoying. But like when they show off, we'll say PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, and PlayStation portable games that are, we're thinking native at least on the system. Can you also buy them, or do you have to be subscribed to that premium tier? That is a criticism that's brought up for Nintendo's Switch Online service, that if there's a 64 game that you really want, you can't just hand them $10, say, for Paper Mario, and you just have it on your system, mostly indefinitely, or until Nintendo decides to shut down the servers like 15 years from now, or something like that. That's something that we're gonna have to keep an eye on for Sony, because yeah, it would be kind of annoying if it's like Nintendo Switch Online, you have to be subscribed to this $120 a year service just to have maybe a couple of PS1 games that you really want to play. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button, really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. Where's the hype, the intrigue, the mystery around Starfield? Do you think the game will be able to live up to all these expectations when they finally show gameplay for it over the summer? And then also, what about LEGO Star Wars? Are you picking it up today after seeing those reviews? And then the whole situation around the PlayStation 5 and Abandoned. What do you think about those interviews that were posted up yesterday? Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.